Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and today let's explore what it means if you were born on a full moon. This is a topic I've been wanting to talk about here for weeks, and especially since I wrapped up my moon series, which I have all on a playlist. If you have not seen all of the moon videos I've done, they're all on a playlist now on YouTube. I don't know where you click, but it's awesome. I'm super excited to have my first playlist. And coming in the near future, I will continue my educational journey where we go through the planets and houses, the planets and zodiac signs. So all of you guys or anyone out there who's interested in learning more will have the opportunity to do so for free on YouTube. But of course, if you would like to dive deep into some educational stuff, links down below. I have a teaching portal, and it's a great way to support the channel, my livelihood. And they're relatively, they're very affordable in my opinion, classes. And I already have a lot in the library of classes. I believe 8 or 9 classes and one course, which is an awesome course. But lately, guys, I know I've been talking a lot just about the transits happening right now. We live in a very exciting time. Astrologically speaking, I know some of the things in the collective and the astrology happening is quite intense. But I feel I haven't done a topical video like this in a while, when we just sort of talk about, yes, it's sort of educational, but I feel some of the things I want to share today are deep and heavy. There's a little bit of heaviness to this, but I do hope it can help you understand the true nature of a full moon. Because in our cultural zeitgeist in astrology, we are obsessed with new moon, full moon cycles. And I'm not going to get into the details of what the new moon actually is and what the full moon actually is, but what I will say is that we worship the new moon and full moons, on YouTube, and just generally speaking, go to any new age shop, go to any spiritual Instagram page. Everyone talks about the new moons and the full moons every single month. And so do I, because they are important to talk about. They are trigger points for us to look at something in the new moon part of our life and say, hey, does something need to be reborn here? Is there some new intention I should make? Is there anything I could look at that needs a little revamping? Right? So new moons, again, have a multidimensional nature to them, depending on what house topic it falls into. And same goes for the full moon. The full moon wants to show us something, reveal something to us. It sometimes will reveal that something to us forcefully. Sometimes full moons, which will tie into what I want to talk about today, sometimes those full moons are not easy to look at, because something that was once hidden is now being revealed. And things that are hidden are usually not pleasant, but they can become pleasant once the truth of them becomes aware. When you become aware of that thing, that's where the real lessons are. That's where the journey begins. Now, new moons and full moons can correlate, in succession or secession. Sorry if I said that wrong. But not always. I treat new moons and full moons different a lot of the times, because they're two different areas of your life. And those two areas of your life can be greatly different. They are very different. Just like if you were born with a new moon, you are nothing like someone born on a full moon. And I probably will make a video on what it is like to be born under a new moon, probably after this one. Not right after, but maybe I'll release that next week. But let's get right into two things that I noticed in readings I've had with people with full moons. And honestly, I've only met, I think, about 5 clients in my entire history who were born with full moons in their chart. And one of them, well, first of all of them had the same psychological experience. Not all of them were dealing with those struggles in the same themes of life, right? Because they all fell into different zodiac signs and house topics. But generally speaking, the vibe of their personality, the way they experienced life were the same. Which is where I started really becoming curious on why full moons seemed to be more of a darker thing for people who were born with them. And the reason for this heaviness is because if you really think about what a full moon is, a full moon is an opposition between the two brightest planets, as we say in astrology still. The sun and the moon are planets. The two brightest planets in our visible sky. We see the sun bright as anything every day. And we see the moon when it is lit, obviously. Clear as day. Sometimes it looks like you can touch it. But this opposition in the birth charts is like any other opposition. It is a symbolic point of tension, struggling forces. One is trying to be pulled away from the other, right? The opposition is like being pulled. They're not next to each other cuddling. They're looking at each other from across the way, and they're very far away from each other, which means there is a distance, which means there is a struggle to connect. And because of this distance and because of this struggle to connect, that creates challenge and struggle. But challenge and struggle is only in existence to have a path to enlightenment, which is a key word I'll use in a minute, reconciliation, understanding. We need to have challenges in life in order to know what it's like to succeed and to overcome and to heal. And every single human, because we live in a world of duality, is destined to have challenges every day. Just surviving is a challenge. Just being a human, just breathing. We like to focus on all these beautiful things about the body, but, ask any Buddhist. A Buddhist thinks the body is not a good thing because a body is dense. It is a body that is subjected to sickness and health. And to a Buddhist, the ultimate goal is to liberate oneself in the highest spiritual way, to realize you are not the body, but you are something transcendent to that, even though they are not very mystical Buddhists. They're very, kind of very strict meditators, focusing on the psychological parts of life that make you a better person, more harmonious person. And yes, in their highest philosophical beliefs, it is to liberate oneself to not be reborn again, to end rebirth. That is the Buddhist goal. So when it comes to the luminaries being pulled away from each other, this means that there is a challenge in life. And all of life is a challenge, right? But for the new moon people, they really feel that their life is a challenge. Because the moon represents the inner world. It represents the mind. It represents the emotions we hold, how we interact with the world, how we feel the world. Where our moon is in the birth chart, that theme of life is a theme of life that is just a natural place where regulation is comfortable. If you have the moon in the 4th, you are naturally gravitated and comfortable in some kind of environment that seems like a home. You like to feel safe, potentially in a home, family, or maybe creating your own family one day. This desire to have roots and to feel comfortable and safe in that fourth house energy. But if you have the sun opposite of the moon, and I'm not going to use the fourth house topic any more than that, but when you have the sun opposite the moon, which the sun represents the ego, the personality you must become in the world to fulfill your destiny, your meaning, your purpose, to understand that house topic in your birth chart and to really shine there in some way. When the moon is opposite that, there is a disconnect from some innate desire to want to be where the sun is. But for some reason, your internal system, your thoughts, the way you think are at complete polarization to that. And this is something I've noticed with full moon birth chart people, is that there is a complete disconnect between how they feel and where they want to go in life. There's this disconnect, even though they know in their mind that they want maybe to be a certain particular way, they don't feel like that on the inside. There's something going on. There's something wrong. And usually, this creates an existential identity battle for some of these people. Most of them, I would say, even if they hide it well. And here's the thing. Some of the people that have full moons in their birth chart are known to try way too hard to be something, to wear a very egotistical costume. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just people who are so obsessed over how the world perceives them, but at the same time, they're only doing those things because they have no idea who they really are on the inside. And this really manifests more and more and more as they get older, when it's important to have an ego, a role in life. The sun is where everyone is going to see you, right? So there's wherever our sun is in our birth chart, that is really where our soul wants to be seen in this lifetime. The costume, the ego, we're supposed to manifest, which throughout your life, you are naturally guided to the house topics of where your sun is. But it's our mission in life to fulfill that sun sign in the most balanced and empowering way. Otherwise, you'll struggle there, of course. And what have I said in so many of my other videos and in my classes, in multiple classes I have for sale? You know, I forgot which, the Transforming Your Life with Your Moon Sign is a class I have. And in there, I definitely speak about how if your moon is not understood, not regulated, if you don't take care of your moon, you have to know how that zodiac sign operates, the house topic your moon is in, and making sure you're involving yourself with people, places, and things that allow you to nourish the moon. Because your moon sign wants to be nourished, safe, secure. It wants to be in balance, right? A Gemini moon can't do a job that maybe a Pisces moon would love to do, right? Like a Pisces moon might love to work in a candle shop, where a Gemini moon might go crazy twiddling its thumbs all day because it wants to, interact with more customers, or it wants to, be involved in more things and have adaptability in the day. So a Gemini moon would just become dull and depressed in a candle shop, in my opinion. Where a Pisces moon would struggle in a busy cafe, for example, or an environment that has too many people all the time. So it's important to know these things. And when you're born on a full moon, this makes things 10 times harder, because The moon wants to operate and innately is naturally is one way. And for some reason, the sun being directly opposite of that zodiac sign already makes the tension even worse and difficult to handle, because it's almost like the ego does not know how to manifest because it is so disconnected from how the innate inner world is operating. So without going too far deeper into this, because guys, there's a lot I could ramble on about, you know me. One last thing to add on this particular form of manifestation, then I'll move on to my last form of manifestation I see. The ultimate purpose, I believe, actually, you know what? I will move on to the last part of what I feel the full moon person, why this is in there, like why are they destined for this? And then I'll circle back to what I want to say now. But aside this struggle, right? This obsession with identity potentially because you don't know how you don't know who you are, so you're constantly seeking who am I, who am I, who am I? A karmic reason, let's talk about karma, I feel this could potentially be the case in this person's life is because this is the end of a soul cycle. New moons are the birth of a new cycle of life, right? Symbolically speaking, it is a new lunar cycle. And the full moon is the end of the new moon lunar cycle. It is the culmination, right? So when we look at people born with a full moon, we're talking about the end of a cycle before it starts going back towards a new moon cycle. So the full moon person potentially is here to conclude some karma that will conclude their soul's journey in its entirety. And the Buddhists may believe and say, this is your lifetime to deal with some of the heaviest things involving identity issues or this struggle between inner and outer, because potentially this configuration is meant for them to embark on a spiritual journey of liberation, enlightenment. And if we look at all spiritual traditions, almost every single one of them, if you really look at them at the heart, there's this notion and belief that you are not the mind human vessel, you are the soul spirit animating that. And the Buddhists and the Hindus, and if you even look at the mystical traditions of Christianity and, shamanic cultures, there's this idea and this philosophy that true spiritual liberation is emptying your vessel of your ego, your personality, to stop the nonsense of seeking your personality, your costume in this world, to let go and surrender to this obsession about identity. And again, just to say, I understand how important identity is in this world. I understand how many people struggle with their personality and their identity, generally speaking. This is a very serious thing. But what I'm talking about is a universal spiritual truth that applies to everyone, but I believe with the full moon people is more so part of their ultimate story on a soul level, because they are meant to come into this severe ultimate awareness that this is maybe one of their last incarnations on Earth, maybe not somewhere else. If we want to get Buddhist here, there's other places or realms we can be reborn into. But full moon people, I believe, are the oldest souls that have been reincarnating on Earth. And because of this, there's this battle of identity and seeking the highest spiritual path. of liberating oneself from the self into a spiritual practice, a spiritual way of life, where the dedication in the most serious way is to embark on shedding of the ego. Not to get rid of it, but just to be in such surrender and acceptance that this struggle between myself, this identity, this path of where the sun is and the way I truly feel every day of my life, that I may never feel safe in who I think I am and how I really feel. So the only way to break that barrier and to heal that and to surrender to it and find peace in your life or their lives is to 100% become a high-level meditator. I feel if every single person born with a full moon became a high-level meditator, that would pierce through the veil of all of their struggle and pain. And they will have an open door to enlightenment that is in the ultimate senses of what enlightenment means. Which, if you ask any Buddhist, or even a shaman, what true enlightenment is, it is the complete recognition of yourself as oneness. And that's all. So aside from like a heavy Pisces spiritual awakening, like heavy Pisces people or heavy water signs that take a path of spiritual life, they kind of understand this, but full moon people, they can achieve mastery in this spiritual revelation, which I believe to be a true and real thing, which is why I've always loved Buddhism and the shamanic cultures I've studied. Shamanism, like I said many times, Peruvian shamanism has helped me just, heal myself physically, with understanding how nature is such an important part of my life and how it literally heals my body, just the natural world. But Buddhism taught me everything about mastering the mind and understanding the conditioning of the mind and what meditation truly is. And how there is a veil of duality that can be broken into pure oneness. And this is not woo-woo stuff. This is ground of being consciousness stuff. And the full moon person needs to understand this. Because that is really what can reconcile their struggle of opposites. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to say to you guys today? Interesting placement. And again, most people may not even think this is something that's real out there. And I'm sure, guys, there's probably people born on full moons that are completely fine, that are not this stuff. Maybe. Even though I would argue that some of those people might be very obsessed with their identity, but if you really got to know them, you would probably find out there is this battle going on within themselves. And maybe wherever their destiny, wherever that sun is in their birth chart, they just feel like they can't get there. Or no matter how hard they try, it just doesn't seem to work. Because their inner self can't get there. It's too far away to reach. I'm stretching my hand out here off camera. It's too far away for them to grab. And even if they could grab it, which some of them do, they're able to touch it, the opposite side. They're able to understand that house topic across from their moon. But for some reason, the way that they innately are can't fully bring themselves to take on that ego, that personality, that costume in life. And maybe for some people, they want to so desperately get there and be that thing, be that person. But there's something on the inside that holds them back emotionally. So we're dealing with total personality identity issues, where one just does not want to grow into the other, or they physically can't, and there's just something wrong. Now, in the medical industry, people might get diagnosed with disorders here. I wouldn't be surprised. Full moon people being diagnosed with, personality disorders or identity things. Depression, for sure. When you have such split, your inner and your outer world are in such opposition, such conflict. Of course, science has diagnoses for this stuff. But don't get it twisted, guys. This is real stuff. And I've dealt with this before, and I've read about this too. And yes, depending on what astrologer you're listening to or what books you're reading, everyone has a different opinion on this. But when we talk about astrology and the aspects, oppositions are challenging things. And full moons are just not some beautiful love and light thing that manifests in their life all the time. Some things in the current time-space reality, like when we have a full moon on a particular month, that could be a very inspiring full moon. Something might get revealed to you, and the light is shined upon something that is positive, sure. But there also is a point of tension. That's why people can't sleep very well on full moons. If you haven't noticed, full moons can be a time of disturbance. I don't know I think women go into labor maybe more often on full moons. I believe that's a thing because there's a disturbance in the air. There's a polarization happening. So there are manifestations of this in the everyday life that tides are a little out of whack. All this stuff's been proven, that the tides of the oceans and the rivers. So there is a struggle going on even in the biosphere and within our life. Literally when they happen, because these planets, the sun and the moon, are so powerful to the actual magnetic force of the earth. So in a birth chart, this is a very serious thing. I'll stop there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe as always. If you would like to read anything else about myself, if you're interested in a reading or any sort of services I offer, check the links down below. And yes, that's the end of this video, and I'll see you all very soon.